Hard Rock Hotel, the collapse over there. Obviously, it's been in the news that the tarps that were covering the remains at the rear of the hotel had the ropes had broken and it had fallen down. Efforts have been put forth today with the firefighters from the USAR team there to get another tarp secured in place. It has proven to be a challenge, as we said it would, given the height, given the conditions, the area that they're working in. They found some additional collapse when they went up there. In other words, areas that they had utilized to access parts of that area of the building have had some further collapse, so they weren't able to go through those areas. It is a challenge. They were successful in getting a couple of tarps up there, but those have had some rips in them and some tears. They're currently working to try and get another tarp secured up there. We said it yesterday when it happened. It's a challenge, to say the least. I cannot urge people enough to respect the families of these victims. We have been in contact with them throughout this, as we have throughout the entire time after this collapse. And I would just urge anyone who would think that posting anything like this or broadcasting anything that draws attention to this is, to me, simply reprehensible. It is, lack of respect and human dignity for people. And I would just once again urge everyone to please resist that temptation. There are people who are suffering. So with that said, we will obviously let you know when it's we consider it to be a success, but it is a challenge, and anyone who's observed what's going on out there can attest to that. It is very difficult, and they're working to get that done, using a little bit heavier ropes than they used last time, but maneuvering that they've had to do, placing themselves at risk. I think we've made it clear previously, you don't put lives at risk, even for injury, to do a recovery. It's just not acceptable in anybody's mind. So that's firefighters are proceeding with extreme caution and doing their best to make a bad situation better for those people suffering, the families that are suffering.
I would just say that we're going to, obviously keep in contact with the National Weather Service. Over the past week or two, we've had 3 or 4 cold fronts come through, and with those is high winds and blowing right down Rampart Street. I was out there today, watching these firefighters, put themselves in jeopardy underneath that Iberville Rampart corner of that building to try and mitigate and give dignity to our victim up there. And these winds, there's the potential that this could happen again. I would say for the public, I echo the chief's comments, and I would say, if you want to stay connected with us regarding this, you can text Hard Rock, one word, to 888-777. That has continuously worked since October 12th. And, we will be updating the public about, as the implosion plan comes together and gets solidified. Engineers were out there today, the contractors out there today. We will have to do an evacuation and exclusion zone that will be similar to probably what you saw with the cranes. I would say it will be remarkably similar to that, both in geography and timeline. We're not talking about an evacuation of days, we're talking about evacuation of hours. And so I think that's pretty much common.
A couple of questions, Danny, WWL.
When did the tarp start to come down? Because of course it kind of picked up yesterday when people were seeing it.
Our guys noticed it, were notified about it yesterday afternoon.
Danny, anything else, Danny? Ramon?
I guess you brought up the text message number. Is it safe to infer that I guess you would have preferred a text to that the tarp had been removed as opposed to that it kind of proliferated social media?
I would have preferred that it not been on social media at all. And we have communicated with Facebook and Twitter, and they were very cooperative with us in having some of those posts removed. I would say that I'm offering that Hard Rock to 888-777 so the public can stay informed as we need to send out alerts about what has been for 3 months a very dynamic situation.
Yeah, I don't think he meant to imply that we would have sent this out to that text alert. This is to keep people up to date. We would have preferred, obviously, anyone picking up and calling 311 or 911 to notify us in any way possible. We were notified. Somebody decided to put it on social media instead of going through some more dignified manner to, out of respect for the family.
Is there anything you can share about any communications you might have had with that man's family as y'all prepare to
Out of respect for them, I'm not going to share anything that they said, but needless to say, they contacted us very quickly. That's how they found out. And I mean, almost simultaneously, my guys were notified that they had saw it on social media. They had checked it in the morning, and it was in place. They were notified on somebody had saw it on social media, and almost simultaneously, I got a call from the family, and we assured them that we would work quickly to get it back up in place. And they came devised, went up and did some inspections, devised a plan, and that's what you see going up right now.
Michael Isaac Stein, the Lens.
Is there any solid plan in place right now of how you're going to retrieve them?
Say that again.
Is there any
Sorry,
solid
retrieve.
plan on how you intend to recover those bodies?
Once we implode the building, the bodies will be recovered. Much if you think along the lines of 9/11. We've kept the family informed of that. They're quite frankly, as you can see, it's no safe way to get that tarp up there. It's virtually impossible right now. I mean, they are in the collapse, and we've had experts from every field that we could find to come in here, and no one has been able to present a safe plan to do it without the risk of losing the building shifting and collapsing. And I wish there was a better way. I wish we could have given these families a closure much sooner. But this is, once again, risking a life for recovery is not. It's never acceptable. And we've talked to industry experts. I mean, it isn't as if we didn't know it. The team that's out there, I keep referring to them as Louisiana Task Force. You saw Task Force 1. It's been all over the world. I mean, really, they were in Puerto Rico. They've been to tornadoes. They were just in the past couple of years. They've gone on 6 deployments. These guys are highly trained, part of the state's USAR team, and they know what they're doing, and it's just unacceptable in the industry. We've talked to people in New York about how they've handled things, and everyone says you can't do that, and we'd never do that, and it's very, very sad and unfortunate for families, but it's just it doesn't make any sense to have someone to tell you that the family has said that.
Amanda Roberts, Fox 8. Oh, Colin, did you have
I would
something
just
else?
add that today, just to get the tarp even in the immediate area, they had to drop lines from 4 and 5 floors above the location. So I mean, it's not something that you can access. You cannot. It's difficult to even describe how patient they had to be to try and move these lines with all the twisted metal, and we had lines cut, and it was very challenging, very, very frustrating.
So was that mission done from the ground up, or can you kind of explain a little more about how that was accomplished?
It was done from several different levels, not from the ground, but from the transfer deck, the big, thick concrete deck that everyone's familiar with at this point. Some of the lines were secured from that area because it seems to be it's safer, it's more stable, and they were able to access it. The other lines that Colin was referring to, they literally had to try and toss lines. They were able to toss lines from many floors up, which was the only place they could get to, and toss it out with a weight to then be able to fish up the heavier lines that are supporting the tarp. Very, very tedious and very strategic in a sense of trying to keep people safe. We do it, yeah, to several tries. They're at it again. It's not a successful mission at this point, I can tell you.
You mentioned additional collapse. Can you explain a little more about what was found in accomplishing this mission, and does that change how
the path that they had been used to taking to try and get as close as they could to that area when they went there today had additional debris in it that prevented them from being able to pass through there. So it tells you the building is moving and things are shifting in there. And they provided me with some pictures to show me, Chief, remember you walked this area. You can't do that anymore. That's how bad this building is, and that's how dangerous it is.
Does that change the implosion plan?
It doesn't change the implosion plan. It just, I think, emphasizes why implosion versus having people in that building working for months on end trying to do what was a conventional demolition is necessary.
And how much other sections of debris is at risk of collapsing near the outskirts of the...
I think when you're asking how big an area, I think you look at the collapse that you have now and say that could happen and I've said repeatedly in these press events, we're not sure why it didn't go further, and we're not sure why it's not collapsing, why it didn't continue to collapse, and what's stopping it from happening. So, the engineers that have studied the building have the same concerns, that it is a dangerous building, and until they can figure out why, we won't know. And they are working on that. The investigation is very active, but it's a dangerous building, and things are moving in it.
Anyone else? Michael Stein, last question.
Yeah, I mean, so now that the city has decided that implosion is the way forward, and given the ongoing dangers of that building, and excuse me if this is an obvious answer, but why not just schedule the implosion for next week or the week after? Why not this time?
So the city did not decide that implosion was the best method. Let me be clear about that. There's been several different methods that have been put forth. This right now seems to be the best methodology with all the experts that have looked at it. We are in agreement with it. And our experts that we hired a third-party expert of engineers. That team is doing a peer review on all plans that are presented. We expect to see that plan within the next 2 weeks from the contractor that's going to do it. And you can't do it quickly because, first of all, they have to have a plan drawn up that's taken into consideration the construction of the building. So they're studying that. They're going to come up with a plan. And then to implement that plan takes time. So when you do an implosion, and I'm not speaking anything about the Hard Rock, I want to be very careful. But we were part of the team, the city team that worked on the Palace implosion, if you remember. And then the Fisher housing development implosion. It takes a long time to be able to put those things in to first of all figure out where they got to go, and then to place them in where they have to go. It's a strategic, it's done by engineers who've done this hundreds of times, and it takes time to get it planned out. So that the timeline is moving as fast as it can. From that perspective.
And I would add that the Palace, as an example, was planned for a year.
All right, guys. Thank you all.
Thank you.